What's up, guys? Happy Hanukkah. So, I was debating what to speak about this evening, and I was going to talk about the whole thing about Hanukkah and how Judea and Samaria is, or how Hanukkah is basically centered around Judea and Samaria, what most Jews don't realize, I was going to go into that whole thing, but then I realized, I want to talk to you guys something about much more important in terms of something everybody can, more accessibly, readily kind of relate to. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I've been saying that, the Jewish people are still, even, despite all the amazing things that we've seen from Am Israel the last 2 months since October 7th, we are still tiny little babies, and we're just learning to walk or maybe crawl. And so, baby steps, So, something happened this week. It happened in America, something that's kind of a thing where it's basically, I don't want to say easily digestible, but it's something anybody can understand by looking at it, what's going on. Unless you're like a total, I don't know, just, have your head in the sand, or you're completely disconnected from the Jewish nation, you look at that thing, whatever this thing was, whatever happened, and you understand immediately, your neshama, your soul understands immediately, okay, things are different now. If you didn't understand on October 7th, now you will understand. Guys, you're probably thinking, Tzvi, why are you being so cryptic? Well, I'll tell you guys why. Those of you guys know Jewish history, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. Those of you guys don't know, in the 1800s, late 1800s, or late 1800s, let's say, in France, there was this thing called the Dreyfus affair. Without getting too much into detail, there was I think he was a captain in the French military army, not Richard Dreyfus, the actor. To be honest with you, I forget his first name. But it was Captain Dreyfus, and at one point, I'm going to spare you guys the details, he was essentially accused of treason by his colleagues, primarily because, and there was basically no evidence, whatever the story was, there was no evidence, corroborating strong evidence that, he betrayed France, There was just like hearsay and false, false testimony, false like confessions, and basically the guy was temporarily put in prison, and then eventually, again, I'm going to spare you guys the details. There was some journalists that helped him, writers, some Jewish, some not, and basically he was exonerated. But and we found out that this whole thing was due to somebody hating Jews. The person that people went after him hated Jews, and so a couple of countries over in Austria, there was a gentleman by the name of Theodor Herzl, secular Jew, kind of assimilated, enlightened, what have you, kind of like mid-level journalist, kind of like the guy you're looking at now. And not that I'm comparing myself to Herzl, but and guys, I'll just say, to be honest with you, for my own reasons, I'm not the biggest fan of Herzl. You guys read about Herzl and who he was in his life, but he saw this event. He was kind of observing this event, and then he said to himself, it turns out that we are not living in such a civilized Europe. It turns, again, this is like late 1800s. It turns out that we are not so exonerated as we thought we were. It turns out that we are not so accepted into whatever society we're a part of as we thought we were, whether it's France or Austria or Germany or what have you. Pick a country, really. Guys, again, this is years before. This is probably like, I want to say, if you want to say like 1880 something or 1870 something, I have to get the exact year, but let's just say this was at least 50 years before Hitler, right? So Herzl saw kind of the writing on the wall, and he wrote a pamphlet, really. It was like a book, but really a pamphlet called Old New Land, in which he said that the Jews need a home of their own. He didn't outline, he didn't specify, I mean, he mentioned Israel, but he said it didn't really have to be Israel, but it has to be somewhere just of their own, and not in Europe, and that's it. And shortly after, what was organized? The World Zionist Congress, the first one, basically to debate, essentially starting the foundations of what eventually would become a country. It was a pipe dream. A lot of people were talking about it. Different people were, I believe Weitzman was there, Chaim Weitzman. I think Einstein may have been. I think he was there, because later we'll find, you'll find out that somebody offered Einstein the presidency of Israel, which he obviously declined. But anyway, guys, just to kind of stick with the story, he saw the writing on the wall, and he basically started saying, guys, we're not going to be accepted here. We're not going to be safe here. It's not our home, right? My friends, we fast forward from that moment, probably 50 years, we had the Holocaust. Obviously, even before the Holocaust, we had Jews building up the land, building what would become the state. Most of those people are Hasidic Jews who came in the 1800s. There was never not a Jewish presence in Israel, right? But en masse, the first people that started coming back were the people that learned Torah, were the people that are coming for religious, holy, spiritual reasons. And they started building the country, physically the land. They founded towns like Petach Tikva. Guys, you guys see the guy Uri Cohen, he's from Petach Tikva. Petach Tikva will be free, right? Folks, Petach Tikva was founded by Hasidic Jews. Rishon LeZion was founded by Hasidic Jews. Rosh Pina was founded by Hasidic Jews. A few other places, guys. So, Bnei Brak. So, and pretty much Tzfat was, always, religious Jews. So, you had that. And then, we had the Holocaust, and then, a bunch of people, both Ashkenazi, European Jews, and Jews from North Africa started coming. Guys, I mean, if you think that Arabs, Arabs like to say, well, you guys, or even people in the Zionist world like to say, Arabs only started attacking Jews in Arab countries when the Jews declared a state. Folks, it's not true. You had something called the Farhud in 1941 in Iraq. Okay, you had a lot of attacks in the 40s and even 30s. Okay, you had Hajj Amin al-Husseini. We had attacks in Israel itself, 1929. I don't want to go off too much on a tangent, guys. My point is, we fast forward. We're almost like, I believe, almost 150 years since Dreyfus. 140 years since the Dreyfus affair in France, my friends. And 2 days ago, we had this wonderful, beautiful testimony from the illustrious, by presidents of the illustrious, schools called Harvard, called UPenn, and called MIT. And folks, they're sitting there, and a lady by the name of Elise Stefanik, Republican woman from New York State, which is kind of a weird thing to say, asked him a question. First, I believe she asked if there's any kind of, I'm just paraphrasing, any kind of verbal threat to black students. Is that actionable? Again, I'm paraphrasing. Answer, yes. Homosexuals, yes. Trans, yes. These people, yes. Call for the genocide of Jews. answer. Only if it leads to actual action, folks. Or what was the word used? Context. My friends. I'm here to tell you, for those of you guys who don't perceive history or know history, this moment, 2 days ago, I believe it was, is your modern day Dreyfus affair. This is the moment that every single Jew should hear the words of the president of Harvard, the president of UPenn, and the president of MIT. And just because other presidents weren't there doesn't mean they're not thinking or saying the same things. NYU, other presidents, okay? What do these guys like to say themselves? Silence is violence, okay? My friends, this is where it begins. These people told us, or, by way of silence, or by way of one word, context, who they are. They told us not only who they are, they told us, they conveyed to us basically what today's so-called civilized and kind of like advanced and progressive society is comprised of. Folks, it's comprised of complete and utter, not only complete and utter garbage, it's comprised of people who would love nothing more than to do something very, very bad to Jewish people. Not just Jewish people in America, not just on campus, pretty much all over the world. Folks, and if you want to say, or we can say, okay, well, maybe these people are afraid to say anything. Why? Because these campuses or these colleges are funded by Qatar / Iran / Hamas / whomever, Wahhabists or Shiites or Sunnis. It doesn't really matter, right? They're funded by entities that, want to destroy Israel, want to harm Jews, want to kill Jews, want to destroy America. Folks, you could say that, but it doesn't really matter. Because they allow this. And if they allow this, that means they're on board with it. My friends, what I'm about to say, take it or leave it. This is your Dreyfus affair moment. And what does that mean? Folks, that means that we have to come home to Israel. And if you're saying, Tzvi, well, come on, there's a war there. Guys, we know from history, Jewish history, that whenever there's a storm, that storm is in the diaspora, and Israel is, relatively speaking, the eye of the storm. My friends, you don't have to go pack your bags tomorrow, although that would be ideal. You don't have to do it in a week. You don't even have to do it in a month. But, folks, my friends, you're going to have to do this. And again, everything I'm telling you, I'm telling to myself. I had 2 stints of living in Israel in the last, over the last, 10 years. And I have my sights set on that. And I've been, for the last however many years, getting my family's sights set on that. And I'm not taking my foot off the pedal. I'm not putting my foot on the brake. People used to call me crazy. They stopped calling me crazy. Now it's just a matter of logistics, and it's a matter of, bells and whistles, odds and ends, finances, life. It's a matter of life. It's a matter of life moving parts. It's not a matter of desire or lack thereof, right? And that's pretty much it, guys. And so for those of you who are not in that headspace yet, guys, I mean, I wish I could say, like, listen, I get it. My friends, Jewish history is pushing us in a particular direction. All of us in a particular direction. And I'm starting to think, I've been thinking that we don't really have a choice anymore in the matter. Again, for those of you who didn't get it after this week, this very clear message from the bastions of civilized society, folks. These are not just universities and isolated, people and places and environments, my friends. These are institutions that are churning out the next heads of governments, the next heads of, companies. And if you think that there's like politicians, for example, or corporate CEOs that are on your side now, you're a Jewish person in America, very, very soon the next generation of these folks who are coming up, as you can see with the squad, right? You could see it in certain companies, certain corporations. Okay? It's about to change, my friends. It's about to change. Jonathan Pollard said it best. My friend and I, Ari Lewis, interviewed him in Jerusalem. He said this in February of this past year, just before Purim. He said, he was tell the story about, a daughter of his friend who went to Brandeis, and they basically made her live in a dorm with girls like her, meaning she's frum, she's Orthodox, and they made her live in a dorm. Basically, they segregated her. Why? Because she's triggering for the other students. And Jonathan basically met with, Minister of Diaspora and other ministers in Israel, and he said, listen, guys, why don't you create a program in Israel, for university students, Jewish students from America, where you accept all of their credits and they get to finish their university studies in Israel with the option to stay in Israel. Probably at this point, it's just a given that they would stay in Israel, right? And get a job and all the rest of it. Folks, right now, it's, as Pollard said, it's an emergency situation. It's not, Aliyah is not like, oh, come on, guys, we're enticing you with this, and we're enticing you with that, and, we have high tech, and we're going to give you $5,000, and we're going to give you this, and we're going to give you that. Folks, this is red alert time. This is red alert time, my friends. It's time to seriously start thinking about that. Guys, again, I've lived in Israel in 2 stints. I'm always there, back and forth. I'm traveling there all the time for business, see friends, whatever it is. And I get it. There's a lot of stuff there, and it's, depending on where you go, it could be a first world country, it could be a second world country. It's not third world, but it's like a second world or a first world, depending on where you go, depending on the day. It's not easy. But guys, it's not easy, but it's our not easy. It is our not easy. Despite the government, despite the bureaucracy, despite the Histadrut labor unions, despite the Supreme Court, despite the Ehud Baraks and the Ehud Olmerts and the Mirav Mikaelis, and I can go on, guys. I can go on and on. You know that. But it's our land. It's our place. And even if you're not like religious, if you have a healthy neshama, you could feel it. You could feel there's something pulsating. It's like a pulsating entity, and it's beautiful also. And yeah, guys, if you didn't get it this week, I don't know what else could happen short of what my friend just wrote. They had an attack in Albany today on a shul, Albany, New York. But listen, these attacks, seemingly they're not waking people up. Just before I moved back to Israel, before COVID, there was a guy walked in with an axe in Muncie and attacked Orthodox Jews. People said, it's Orthodox Jews. My friends. And even the Pittsburgh, shul massacre wasn't enough. My friends, now it's going to be societal. It's going to be societal, institutional, just like it was where I'm from, where I was born, Soviet Union, just like it was in Germany before, just like it was everywhere else, in many different ways. It starts in different ways, but it ends, guys, in the same exact way, give or take. But now the difference is we have a land, a country, when it works, an army, when the commanders give the orders. I'm not going to get into that. And yeah, B'ezrat Hashem. Anyway, guys, happy Hanukkah, and maybe soon I'll talk to you guys about Hanukkah and Judea and Samaria, and how basically, Hanukkah is the holiday of Judea and Samaria. Without Judea and Samaria, there was no Hanukkah. How about that? All right. Talk to you soon. Shabbat shalom. Chag Sameach.